we're going to watch a movie that rocks. Do you guys want to do that? Or do you want to watch Remains of the Day?
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
All right, what's up, everybody?
Come on.
It's 1 fucking hour time.
Kind of reggae.
I am Evan Husney, of course, and this is the show where we talk about one goddamn movie, and we have just 1 fucking hour to do it. To my left, we got, of course, reporting from the left side over here, Big T, Tom Fitzgerald. What's going on, T?
Hey, man. Correspondence from the left. The left side's doing pretty good. It's holding its own.
Oh, killer.
Back to you.
Awesome. All right. And we're going to go straight over to my right side now. We got Mr. Marcus Herring. What's going on, Mr. Marcus?
Over here on the far right. You know, actually, this has been bugging me for a while, but I think I'm actually on your left, Evan, actually, right?
Is this like a Mobius strip kind of thing?
Yeah.
Which way are you facing right now, north or east?
North? I don't
Okay,
know.
never mind.
The compass.
Yeah, that you might be right. Oh, I think we're all surrounding each other, so it's fine. No matter what, no matter how you look at it. All right, so it's time, of course, for episode 94 of the show. I know. Can you fucking believe that?
94 hours of stupidity.
94, almost a movie from 94. Almost, not quite. We're going to be covering Chris Guest's. I'm going to call him Chris Guest. I like how people say that. Chris Guest and his
Steakhouse.
film, Waiting for Guffman. So we're getting into a seminal 90s comedy here tonight. Very excited. But before we do, guys, I want to give a quick shout out to last week's episode. That was so much fun. Being in the same room with y'all, that's so rare that we get to do that. It was so fun that we infiltrated the studio with Raimi and finally covered, man, we've been talking about it for so long, David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. And that was awesome to see all of the great feedback. A lot of people watched that episode, and thanks for all the comments and everything. We appreciate that.
And, you know, after we went to Winky's down the street. So
That's right.
We made some friends.
We were looking for contact lenses, behind the dumpster back there, and it was great. But thanks everybody for checking that out. That was a blast. Hopefully we'll get to do that more, the more I can get out west. Because I saw a lot of comments where people were like, why don't you just do this every week? And I was like, well, guys,
I've got an answer. There's 3,000 miles.
Yeah, right. Between me and them. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to figure that out.
Well, Marcus and I could just move to the East Coast.
Just move to New York, guys. And we can do this. Yeah, we can do this.
Say that we could move in together. Then at least me and you would be in the same camp.
Like a well-armed compound.
Yeah. 1 fucking hour HQ.
In Hudson, New York.
Yeah, right. Sure. Why not? Like upstate living. So anyway, thank you again for checking that out. And of course, I also want to shout out the Patreon, patreon.com/1fucking-hour, where you can sign up for just $5 a month and get instant access to all of our bonus episodes and feature-length audio commentary tracks. We'll soon have a new bonus episode. Guys, wink, wink, up there soon on the Patreon. Maybe by the time you hear this or soon after. So definitely, the only way to hear our bonus eps, bonus hours, bonus audio commentary tracks, just like we did, Mulholland Drive, last week on the main show, we've done a feature-length audio commentary track to Blue Velvet. So if you want to get more Lynch, that's right up there. You can grab it right now. Patreon.com/1fucking-hour, or if you're on YouTube and you want to keep all your shit on YouTube, just click underneath this video. There's a join button, and you can become a Moman of the channel. Also for $5 a month. Same perks, same bullshit, but we appreciate your support either way. So, and do you guys have a show coming up? Do you want to talk about that at all, or are you ready to talk about this?
Let's give it another week because, it's happening on the last day of January. So.
Okay. All right. So, is it also at Philosophical Research Society?
Yes.
They haven't kicked us out yet. And, with our bumper sticker says, check us out till they kick us out.
Right.
And they haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
And, they have every right to. But, yeah, they're letting us do another show on the 31st of this month, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it next week.
Okay, great. So January 31st, Check out Tom and Marcus. EXP TV will be at the Philosophical Research Society. More details to come. Check out next week's ep, which we're also going to get into what we're doing next week on this show, because it's going to be very special what we're going to do, and we'll talk about that at the end. Big news, big swerve for next week's episode that we'll get into after we talk about Guffman, man. So stay tuned for that at the end of the show. Are you guys ready? Should we get into Guff?
Guffman.
Should we guff it up?
Guffman.
Yeah.
No more waiting. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to start the clock here. And all right. Boom. All right. Here we go. Little synopsis action on the movie tonight. For anybody who is not in the know on this really fucking hilarious movie that really holds up, in my opinion. We're going to get into that, of course. Waiting for Guffman is about the fictional small town of Blaine, Missouri, where a handful of residents, including the local travel agent, his wife, the girl that works at the Dairy Queen, and the local dentist, prepare to put on a community theater production to celebrate their town's 150th anniversary, all led by eccentric director Corky St. Clair, played by Chris Guest. Corky, who recently relocated from the Big Apple, uses connections from his off-Broadway past and invites Mort Guffman, a Broadway producer, to critique his show, which is called, amazingly, Red, White, and Blaine. That always fucking kills me, by the way.
Oh, that's great.
Corky leads the cast to believe that a positive review from Guffman could mean their show might go all the way to Broadway. So that is the movie. And does anybody have any memories of seeing this on the first go-around or any origin moments with this? I can't even remember the first time I saw it.
We had the VHS tape in my house, and I don't think I had the opportunity to see it in the theater, but I think it was one of those things where you read the review of it in like Rolling Stone or something when it comes out in VHS, you snag it. So I watched it a lot as a kid. It's one of those movies that's really burned. The dialogue is kind of soaked into my brain. It sort of like controls the way I think about things. Like I know. Every time I hear the word Coke, I think about Parker Posey saying that line.
Yeah.
Cokes. Just drive in and get a Coke. You're thirsty.
Drive in and get a Coke.
How about this, Marcus? You were saying this earlier, like, that ain't no feed storage bin.
That ain't no feed storage bin.
How did it get here?
It must have flew.
That's permanently in there.
Yeah.
Totally.
It really just gets in there. So, I think I saw this before Spinal Tap.
Oh.
And I saw it before I know who David Cross was,
Great.
So, it was very formative for me. And it felt like, seeing it at that time, too, when indie was such a big thing still. And this is like, it feels like a real, true, independent film of the era, and it's hugely influential. It just seems like, it almost seems like it doesn't get the credit it deserves for just ushering in this whole new era,
I
but
know.
It really, it's a wave.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious to say this, but it's like when you look at the 90s, like people like Christopher Guest, who made obviously Spinal Tap, of course, or was a big part of Spinal Tap. Reiner directed it, of course. But, with this movie and like how it influenced, how it was so influential to like especially TV, like The Office, Parks and Rec, all that style, like you can draw a straight line right back to his films.
Is that called, like 3-camera style? Is that
or Doc?
Wrong?
I'm not
or
sure.
is it 3-camera styles as sitcom, a traditional sitcom?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Sorry.
Yes.
So it's all the non-3-camera things. And Parks and Rec is a perfect example of what we're talking about here. And there's a direct through line to Guffman and bullshit like that.
Yeah, totally. And
absolutely.
like this era,
and more influential than Spinal Tap too. I think just because like Spinal Tap's about a band, or like it's a really big thing that you're making a mockumentary about. A lot of there are other mockumentaries like Forgotten Silver, where it's about some like director from the past or something. But this is is about a small town, like a bunch of nerdy people in a small town or whatever. So it's not the scale of it's a lot different too. Not just that it's a documentary.
The conceit is not like the pairing of like The Last Waltz is what you would do for Spinal Tap, but this would be like a small, like IFC doc.
Like Errol Morris.
Ostensibly, it is a documentary. They're talking to the documentarians at to camera. And so and what I'm saying is, like, look at The Office, right? They always had, until the very end, like an invisible camera crew. Like technically, there's a documentary crew making a documentary about this Pennsylvania paper company, right? Every episode is like, so
they talk about it being a doc.
Which is, it's just like we're so used to that. Again, like we're saying, but Guffman was new and it was very fresh.
Doc on a banal subject too. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like small town America, whatever.
I was going to say, it's like in the 90s, that's like the boom, the stool boom. No, it's the boom of these very eccentric docs, that are coming out, where you're seeing, the sort of, fast, cheap, and out of control. The stuff that's sort of birthed out of Errol Morris a little bit, the idea of Gates of Heaven. Like some of these interviews you could see straight out of like Gates of Heaven or something like that.
Absolutely.
Or Terry's wig off.
It's very early,
Terry. Yep, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, what's that one? Like Sherman's March.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great film. It's very much like Sherman's March.
Ross McEwen. Yeah.
Ross McEwen. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good deep cut you guys should check out.
Totally. And, we've said this before about him. I think when we did the Spinal Tap episode, shout out in the archives. We've covered Spinal Tap previously. But something about Christopher Guest that's just amazing is, and we've said it, before, like I said, he has such a keen eye for human observation, and its eccentricities and quirks, like a Herzog or like a Mike Judge, I've even said in the past. It's like he really is one of the greatest, I think, observers of humanity, because it's amazing how in Spinal Tap we pointed out how he's nailed that British accent more than like the finest actors have. And the fact that just all these very specific, minute details about like a sort of butt rock band of that era. It's just so, not many people would really drill down on those very esoteric details.
They would brush with broad strokes. And I got to say, like, and just to give you my quick origin story is, I don't know. It just this was just on cable and stuff in the 90s, and my girlfriend at the time, we got obsessed with this movie, and I'm not exaggerating. It was every other day we watched Guffman for years, and we would just walk around reciting whole lines of dialogue, or like we would Rocky Horror Picture Show it when we throw it on. We would be like, that ain't no storage bin. Like we would yell that to the TV. So, but what I'm saying is, I saw it a million times 20 years ago or so. More than that. And I haven't watched it since. And I watched it for the first time in decades today. And I was wondering, like, how's it going here? And it's, we talk about is the rewatch roundup. And it really holds up. And it was a very nice, warm, blanky feeling to watch this again. But I think the word, just to get back to what we're getting at here, is like the word today, as I watched it, was just calibration. And like, how like there's that skill that's long gone. It was, I think, called like tool and die, where machines do it now, but like a human being with like special glasses would work on incredibly minute mechanics. Does anybody know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so anyway, I thought about like calibration and mechanics, and everything has to be exactly right. Like the vocal inflection on like a syllable, like the millisecond pause, and everyone's doing it, and they're all just like locked into this incredible calibration. And then there's the editing, which is more calibration over the performances and the improvisation, and it's like so beautifully crafted. It is almost like a 747. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Of comedy.
Yeah. No. 100%. Marcus, go ahead if you're saying something.
No, just was thinking about when you mentioned calibration. I was thinking about like I love the pacing of this one. Like it's not overloaded with jokes, and I feel like, and sometimes they don't go for the joke. It's more just the. There's not a punchline necessarily to everything, but there's funniness in the situation and the improv, and I was thinking about comparing it to something like The Office or whatever, which does get very high volume in the jokes, and it's just like joke. So sometimes when I go back and watch these, I wonder, would somebody who's like 20 who grew up on The Office, would they appreciate this as much, or would it seem like a slower, not as fun? Yeah, exactly. I worry about that,
button, Evan.
Kind of slow.
I knew that was coming today. I don't know why, but I knew that was coming for this episode. Carry on, though, Marcus.
That does kind of hit me sometimes when I watch. This is my favorite of the Christopher Guest, ones, and then probably Best in Show, and then I'm sort of like soft on the other ones, really, and I think. And that is something that's on my mind when I'm watching some of the later ones is like the jokes, they're doing more jokes, but they're not landing as much as The Office. Whatever, someone else kind of took the formula and adapted it for 2002 or whatever, when The Office started off and made it, and kind of ran with it. So it changes the audience's like palette a little bit,
Well,
it's in the cast because this film has the finest of the fine.
Oh,
yeah.
And like some of the additions of his sort of stock team, all the way down to like mascots, and it's funny. It is. I'm going to be honest. In my opinion, it's diminishing returns. Like
it is.
I didn't like Mighty Wind as much as And For Your Consideration was like okay, and mascots was like I don't think good. And I think what I'm saying is that his group expanded to the performers, and some people were like a little wobbly, but everyone here is fucking. It's like a military operation. Like
it is.
You've got the cream of the crop here.
You do. Yeah. One thing I was going to say, just to bring it to like if you want to even call it an origin story with this movie, is it got a lot of play in my household. As I mentioned on the Spinal Tap episode, that movie got a lot of play because, my dad being in, sort of rock and roll dad in the rock and roll industry, this was something that he watched countless and times and always said it was like a real documentary. It wasn't even a mockumentary in a lot of ways, and so this movie also made its way into our house because it's obviously from some of the same minds. And I think another reason that we really appreciated it is growing up in Minnesota, which is very similar to Blaine, and there's a Blaine, Minnesota too, which is very close to where I grew up. And so I think there was a sort of like capturing the authenticity of small sort of white America was like so spot on, and I think, we had so much, we had a lot of self-awareness around where we grew up and sort of your stereotypical sort of Midwestern naivete kind of person, and I think that this movie nails that so much. And so there is a warm blankie feeling about, Chris Guest and crew just fucking nailing that, just like they did with Spinal Tap. Like they get that lifestyle down so well, and the hopes
like a
and
different
dreams.
Social thing.
Yeah,
a whole different social world.
Yeah.
Getting very cold. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no, they nail that entirely. Like as Marcus was saying, how this movie is. It isn't examining, a large topic. It's like reducing it and bringing it down to a more intimate sort of, esoteric.
Like at the time, people would be watching this, like parents from not my parents, but like someone older would look at this and go, why are they making a documentary about these people? It wasn't like so common to see a documentary on a small town security. Now it's like small town security, the television reality TV boom too is like retrained people's minds, but at the time it was very
Reno
odd
911.
to have.
What was that called?
Yeah, Reno 911. Yeah.
Totally. Right. That is
so,
good call. That's the same thing too.
Yeah, so I think that just to me, or to us, I think that's why we appreciate it, is because it felt really authentic to the people we saw growing up around us at all times.
How about especially Eugene Levy's wife and that accent?
I don't know what they're doing because I've never been to one before, but I bet they're just, introducing themselves to each other. It's going to be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she's got like the Chicago thing going on. She's kind of got like a Illinois kind of thing going on, with the big A's and the, and everything. She's incredible in the film too. I love anytime she opens
She's in Best in Show too, right?
I think so. Yeah.
She's in one of the other ones too.
Yeah, she's great. So do we want to talk just a little bit before we get into, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about the amazing characters, the amazing set pieces. Just a quick little backstory on how this movie came together. You guys had sort of been poking around and, knowing that the origin of the amazing character of Corky St. Clair actually goes farther back maybe than anyone might know, right? Because it goes back all the way into the early 80s. So what's the story there?
Well, just part one is there's an SNL skit that is much beloved. It's a synchronized swimmer bit. It's one of the film pieces.
Oh, it's okay. Wear knee pads next time. Working with them has also given me a goose, if I may use that expression. I've been directing regional theater, Shakespeare in the Park, and if I ever do that again, I'm just gonna, kill myself with a Vegematic. We dig a hole. We dig.
And the great thing about these boys is they're thinking gold.
No.
I mean,
from one of those weird mid 80s seasons, and it had a lot of talent, and it had Chris Guest, and it had Harry Shearer, and it had Martin Short, and a bunch of other people. And they did this filmed skit, and it's amazing. And it's about these very demented synchronized swimmers, Shearer and Short. But their coach is unnamed, but he is basically our buddy Corky. And I remember as a kid, I was watching with my friends, we immediately loved this character, and we would recite these Corky-isms, in this skit, Synchronized Swimmer. So it's on YouTube. You guys should definitely check it out, because that's the origin of Corky.
Yeah, as we pointed out too. Sorry, real quick before I throw it to you, Marcus. As we pointed out too in the Spinal Tap episode, that those characters, the band members, there were iterations dating back into the 70s of that they had been working on these characters, or iterations of them had evolved into the Spinal Tap we know today. So this is kind of a commonplace
one-off skit shows.
Yeah,
you'd see in 1977.
Yeah,
the Spinal Tap guys.
Yeah, so these are these are things
that like a hobby of mine on the side is like to try to trace every time you see one of those, watching an old comedy special or something. You see, we were talking recently, saw Bruno Kirby doing his routine from Spinal Tap in another setting with Rob Reiner pre-Spinal Tap, and it was like this comedy VHS tape that was going around the early 80s.
You reading Yes I Can by Sammy Davis Jr.? Sorry.
Window.
Yeah, so he's doing that character somewhere else. It's so weird. Yeah. But
what's part two on Corky?
Well, we love tracking those things, and so Corky popped up. I had Corky in another thing growing up. My parents taped the David Letterman short film special. It was like the David Letterman holiday film special, and it was 2 years in a row in the early 80s, 84, 85, something like that. And they would give money to comedians or actors or whatever to make these short films. Michael J. Fox made one. Bette Midler made an awful one that's really grating.
Wow.
But there's one with Michael McKean and Christopher Guest. It's a mockumentary, and they're making an industrial film. And the mockumentary, it's very high concept. It's the making of an industrial film. So they're making an industrial musical, actually. And Corky is the director, choreographer. Well, he's not named Corky. He's got a different name. But it's the same character. He's doing the exact same
like
shit.
on SNL,
Yeah. And there's a really funny moment. One of the best jokes in Guffman for me is when Corky's this is my life here. We're not talking about something else. He gets kind of hung up on it.
I can't do anything with it. I need to. This is my life here we're talking about. We're not just talking about, something else. We're talking about my life.
The character in the David Letterman special does the same joke with a different line. He's like,
love it.
He's like, they're singing a song about busk. It's some byproduct of this corporation. And he's like, we're singing about busk here. No, we're not singing about, or busk. It is something. It's not just nothing. He's doing the exact same joke, but early, 15 years earlier.
Super
so it's fun to track
about,
that routine.
Specific.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think both are on YouTube. Y'all should check it out.
Definitely. I'm sure I'll cut to it here. So I guess the idea then for the movie stems from when Chris went to a junior high school production of Annie Got Your Gun, which is amazing. So that would have been fun to go see. So he goes to see that, and he just was really inspired by the idea of seeing these kids doing, committing to something that was way over their head, and he always talks about seeing 11 or 12-year-old kids with the mustaches that are flipping up, and he said that he found something, and I can totally see this. He found something super poignant. There is a poignancy to amateurs, and the idea of people who are in over their head. They're untrained, but they're very sincere, and they're taking what they're doing, or they're taking this all very seriously, what they're doing. And he even commented that like the director of this play was given like, roses at the end of it and stuff, and so all of that idea, that sort of small town, small community built upon, these sort of untrained folks getting together, doing this, but then being very serious about it, is that that's a perfect setting for a comedy. And so it was kind of right then and there. And I think because largely that Spinal Tap was largely, it was improv. Yes, they had sketches of what some of the scenes were going to be and some of the larger, broader gags. But with this, he really wanted it to be mostly improv. And it's really cool that I didn't know this, but because I was wondering where the Eugene Levy sort of connection comes in. But I guess right after he got the concept for the film, he contacted Eugene Levy and said, "I want you to write the movie with me," because he was a big just fan of his work on SCTV.
SCTV.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's interesting too, because Eugene Levy has roots in mockumentary, if you want to call it that too. He did an HBO special called The Last Polka, LOL, a parody of The Last Waltz.
The Schmangy Brothers, with,
right.
their take on The Last Polka.
Yep. And then of course doing those characters on SCTV. So
we worshipped SCTV growing up, and it was like the better, more rare SNL that would sometimes be in syndication and sometimes not. Like it was hard to catch it, but it was this great memory of like, all these guys that are populating all these 80s movies had their origins in this show. That was so great. It
really holds up, and it's great to see both Eugene and then maybe he brought in Catherine O'Hara, who's just a fucking monster too on SCTV, and of course Guffman.
Totally. And so I guess what they did is they created just a 16-page outline. Was what the script was for Guffman, and then they picked this idea of Blaine was this fictional town that they created, and the idea was really to create these characters, utilizing great comedic actors, Fred Willard, like you said, Catherine O'Hara, to bring to life these characters, these sort of starry-eyed residents of this sort of fictional town that they had. And it's, and that's such a great sandbox to play in, is this idea, of the small town delusion of people who dream to go to Hollywood and believe. Also, it's brilliant too, I might add, and I've really picked this up on this, even though the name of the movie is Waiting for Guffman, and the whole concept.
Great title. Great title, by the way. Like,
totally.
You never had a problem Googling that title, Waiting for Guffman. It's you just Google Guffman and it comes up. And also, it's a reference
like a movie called
to
Heat or something. Is that what
right? Or Crash? Hey, you guys like Crash?
Yeah, right.
2 movies called Crash.
You talk about the SEO of this movie,
and it's a reference to something familiar. Waiting for Godot, obviously. So it sounds familiar. This is how you title a movie.
No, that's some good titling. Amen.
No, it is, and it's also the idea of, I think it's just brilliant of we're setting a fake documentary in a small town, naivete, and seeing the hopes and dreams of these characters, but then the dramatic edge to make it that they think somebody from the Big Apple is coming down to see us is such a great tool, because later on in the film that's used so brilliantly and so melancholic and poignant, to use what he was going for as a word, but like when you realize obviously that he never came, and that's where the film becomes a little minorly tragic, and I think that really does humanize these characters by the end that we've so fallen in love with and laughed at and whatever.
I remember the first time I saw the film, and it was pretty devastating. Like, my grandson's gonna love this balloon. Says the man who's not Guffman. As he
oh my God! I just realized that actor this time is the "I'm just as God made me, sir" guy from Spinal Tap. Yeah, I didn't realize that before.
Too,
yeah, amazing, amazing.
He's great.
So I just think that's brilliant.
No, it's not funny, that scene, and yes, you could say objectively that they're foolish and delusional, but we've gotten to know these people, and they're genuinely stung by this and very hurt
Yes.
And it kind of reminds me of when the guys trapped in the Andes, the soccer team, when they finally get a radio going.
Right.
Okay, bear with me, everybody.
Wow.
Strap yourself in. 1972, the Andes soccer team that crashes,
Sure.
and they're cannibalistic. There's a point where they're listening to the radio and they hear a transmission like, just today we've done our last search and we're giving up on searching for the soccer team. Like, they're obviously dead. And there's this montage in that new film about it. Like, they're going crazy and they're devastated, and they're just, it's like stabbing them in the heart. It's like worse than dying.
Yeah.
It's basically like, and this is the death sentence of the soccer team, on the radio. And it's kind of sort of like that, in that it all comes to that point where this big balloon of dreaming for each of them, separately and alone, just pops unceremoniously, and everyone's really quiet.
Yeah.
If you notice that, like, they're not talking. And,
I know. It's amazing. And it's to make a connection to last week. There's always these weird through lines with these very, our random picks. But we were sort of talking about last week with Mulholland Drive, this idea of, the fantasy of, Betty and her character of being discovered, or that idea of Lana Turner
being from Blaine, right? Is that?
Yeah, she could be. Right, might as well be. But the idea of being like Lana Turner being, discovered in Schwab's, the malt shop or whatever.
Right.
It's very similar, like the idea, of including this Guffman character that could be the key to their success and to really discover their hidden talents. It's like someone in a small play, learning, Woody Allen, is in the audience and he's going to see you, and
it's modern mythology.
It's a Hollywood dream that you'll be discovered someday and become a star. And we've all grown up with that.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's a very American dream, so to speak. Should we talk about some of our beloved characters in depth? Deep dive.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to bring up Fred Willard. Just he's the one that comes to mind for me so much in this movie when I first think about it.
Fred Willard.
I know. R.I.P. Of course. And it's so amazing. Like that audition scene. Everyone talks about the audition scene, of course, and their interview scenes. Everything is just so amazing. And it's really cool to know like how much that he brought to these scenes, and all the actors brought to their own scenes, because so much of it is improv. And if Fred Willard was sort of talking about like that audition scene was kind of like an audition in real life, because they really only rehearsed it a few times. He sort of came up with this and that, but he's sort of performing it he only did 2 takes of it, for the people in there, and nobody really was yet really comfortable with each other. Like, he kind of felt Bob Balaban, who's great in that scene, by the way. Bob Balaban, which is
quiet jealousy,
brilliant, so brilliant, not overplayed, not overstated, very subtle, very great,
beautifully calibrated,
and
those auditions really were auditions, I guess, in a way, like that they. I heard about the process on the commentary, which is also very funny. Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy do the commentary, and it's not a normal commentary. They're pretty funny in it, but they're talking about this scene and just that, like, he gave them the songs because they had to use public domain songs.
Wow,
that's why it's Camptown Races and stuff,
right?
Because they didn't have enough money. But he just gave them the songs and asked them to go away and come up with their own routines, and so he's seeing them for the first time when they're recording them, which I thought was pretty cool detail to imagine.
Wow.
In character is quirky, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is a very cool twist, like another layer. If I can interject just slightly, it's like Fred Willard, amen. He's so great. And what I really miss, though, is the pairing of him and Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean is, I might be wrong, but I don't think they really paired up again in Chris Guest or anything else. But what I could see is the fireworks within that audition between those two.
I know.
Like, it does not get better than her individually and him individually, but then together. Like, when my favorite part is Midnight at the Oasis, right? But they do that awful dinner theater, some lines of dialogue, like, where are we going? I don't know. I hope it's warm there, or whatever.
But say, I wonder, do we have time for that coffee?
What time is it?
What time is it? Haven't you been paying attention? It's midnight at the Oasis.
Well, it's kind of like a TV spot for like an old product almost. That's what it feels like.
Sure, or an industrial film.
Yeah,
right. Actually, it's very industrial film.
Yeah.
No, but this is funny. Back to Mulholland Drive, everyone, especially Catherine, is doing some great bad acting.
Yeah,
like she's really good at beautifully acting bad acting, which is not easy. You know,
No, she's kind of the best at it. You know, and she does it in a bunch of different ways in the movie. In the auditions, one way, and then when they're on stage and she's talking like this, and you can't understand the words she's saying because her delivery is so bad. You know, it's
like the B-52s is what I was saying. Like, hey, no storage bin. You know, like it's very broad.
Right.
Like,
yeah, totally.
No, I was just going to say the pairing.
Yeah,
it's very beautiful to see the fireworks between those two in that moment and throughout the film. They're just such a great pair. Because no one else pairs up quite like that.
No,
you know,
so good,
more or less alone.
Definitely,
very natural too. Very natural in that you know, they didn't really know each other much. You know, before this, like it was pretty much they went in cold, and you know, she didn't. He tried to. I guess Fred tried to contact her, like maybe we should like have dinner and figure out what our couple's like backstory is, you know. And then I guess that it was she never returned the call, and then as soon as they got to set. You know, it was sort of like, okay, I think we should try and work this out.
Running.
But they just hit the ground running, man. They had that natural sort of chemistry. And
it's so good.
It's so good. And obviously, yeah, go ahead.
There's there's a lot of deleted scenes from this movie, but the only one that I really like is one with the Albertsons, and they're like playing baseball, and she's drunk and like not doing very well, you know, and it's the only deleted scene that I really like. Because you want more of them, you know.
Right, more of the couple. Just side note, you just said drunk. I was also observing today that she's the best drunk I've seen on film. Because almost no one can do drunk well.
True.
You know, but she in the Chinese restaurant, she's nailing drunk. Like, Edja, girl talk.
What's that? Shh. Girl talk. What's it like to be with a circumcised man?
Like exaggerated gesturing, like you don't quite have the capacity of your motor skills.
Yeah.
You're talking at the Chinese restaurant scene?
Yeah. Oh my God! It's just the best example of drunk acting I've seen.
Half the joy is watching these great performances and like that moment. Yeah,
and then that like perfect, just kind of like, you know, very unsubtle Midwestern bigotry comes out too.
Yeah.
You know, like
I'd ask you more about that, but Ron said the whole Jew thing's.
And it's so fun. You know, that whole Jew thing or whatever she's
like Ron told me not to talk about the whole Jew thing.
Yeah, that's, you know, slice out of Minnesota.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and that's great. You know, and Ron, or I call him Ron, Fred, also, you know, again, brilliant fucking line. Everyone talks about it, but in the audition, just have to put a bow on the audition scene by, can I strike the chair? Like,
we'll leave the.
Great. Now, why don't you just put that back there?
Strike it?
Yeah.
We've done a few shows for Corky before, so we know all the terms already going in. Thanks so much. It was really fun.
Nothing is more perfect than can I strike the chair. That
like,
says
that's
everything.
you know, I know the lingo. Like, kind of. You know,
strike the
it's
chair.
not my first rodeo here.
God.
They always seem so in awe of Fred and his ability. You know, every time you watch someone talk about him, they talk about his ability as an improv. You know, and on the commentary too. When in that scene when he enters, they're like, okay, Fred's about to do his thing. You know, and then he comes in, he's like, Doc, and he talks to Eugene Levy. I can't remember the lines, but they're like afterwards. They're like, okay, that was about 6 in a row because he just laid out 6 jokes, like lined them all up. You know,
like
they always seem in
6
awe
unique
of him.
options is what you're saying.
Well, just he does like 6 jokes in a row, and it's like, "Hey, Doc, good to see you." Know, I can't remember the lines right now, but when he walks into the hallway, Fred's just like he's riffing.
Give it your best shot, which won't be the first shot you ever gave. Hope it doesn't leave Corky numb like most of them. It's like pulling teeth to get a discount from him. Hey, why don't you give some caramels to the little girl? Future customers know.
Oh, and yeah.
And he's delivering. So they just seemed like the great players, Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy, seemed in awe of his ability as an improv.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible.
And you know, I got to say, he makes it look easy. It's like, you know, what they'd say about like Fred Astaire. It's like, like I don't see what I'm trying to say is like I don't see him working to be funny. He just is. It's like Zen. Like he just exists. Like I almost don't even have an idea about what this real man. Like sometimes I used to think this is what Fred Willard's like, and he is exactly like this all the time, and he's never like doing a bit or in character. He just like is this way, and I think there's something to that.
I can shed some light on that. There's a little short interview with him on YouTube talking about this movie, and he was sort of saying that. It was very unusual when Christopher Guest reached out to him and was like, hey, we're doing this movie. There's no script, and he's like, holy shit, like there's no real script. Like the freedom of that, was very exciting to him. But then as he, agreed to do the part and everything, it was sort of sinking in like, well, there's no script, but that means I'm going to have to come up with the lines, to the thing. I have a feeling that he actually probably did work pretty hard on coming up with a lot of those lines. Because he kept talking about how many ideas he was, contributing to this stuff. So I wouldn't be shocked if those that little exchange you were talking about, Marcus, with him and Eugene Levy with the jokes he's rapid firing are probably something he had sketched out beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always in sort of awe of him, just in like being of someone who knows themselves. Like he knows what he looks like and how his perception other people have of him, and how to turn that into a joke.
Yeah,
and so confident. He's done the same thing, same shtick, going back to like Fernwood Tonight, and always had that shtick that's always delivered. Just to be so confident in yourself and know yourself that well, I think it's such a
he's in Spinal Tap, and he steals the movie briefly. It's like
at the airbase.
You see that group Three Jacks and a Jill? I caught him at the Ramada Inn the other night. I shouldn't be too close to you guys. My hair's getting a little long.
I know, right? That was
the military attaché is like walking through the airbase,
so good.
And he steals the movie for those 2 minutes.
And this is a good.
I guess all I'm really saying is like what I said before was like it makes it look easy. Like I don't see him like working on the mechanics of being funny.
No,
he just unlike Jim Carrey or something like that. He just kind of is.
Right.
And I think it's what you're saying partly, Marcus, where it's just like he's so centered in like and I think that like it's half real Fred Willard, and then the other half is like him, projecting and exaggerating kind of a natural state that he's already in.
Right, always delivering sort of bad square dad jokes that are obviously cheesy, and that's the funny part. Right.
But there's also kind of like he's aware that his character has to create this also kind of phony facade, because there is sort of a darkness under, who he is, and I think a lot of the all these characters have darkness under the hood,
but especially him.
Especially him.
But it was minor surgery.
There's a medical reason.
You can tell me.
Just minor surgery.
Oh man,
there's a lot of weird undertony things about penis surgery and stuff.
So crazy. And then of course,
should we move on to Eugene?
I was just gonna say, little segue to Eugene is in that same Chinese restaurant scene. Man, when he's about to whip out his wang to show him, and then what does Eugene say? Dances with Stumpy, no, like Johnny Carson,
Doctor, please.
Medicine man not go near dances with Stumpy. No.
Well, he's doing the Johnny Carson routine again.
I know. There's so many layers to that.
There's a lot of layers to that.
Johnny Carson on the Tonight Show, from what I understand, did this old, weird, racist kind of like Native American guy talk, and so Eugene keeps referring to that in the film, but he's doing it haltingly and awkwardly, unlike the smoothness of Johnny Carson, and it's so beautiful when he does it, like Squaw wants pelt for teepee, and it's just like he just destroys with bad timing.
It's so disturbing.
Johnny Carson's 60s like out of touch shit,
Totally.
But yeah, Eugene acting with his eyebrows is always
amazing.
There's a they always try to have. I think this is probably Eugene's influence, but to have like a big kind of broad, more physical kind of thing. Like he has the 2 left feet in Best in Show. But he also he doesn't have his glasses when he's the pioneer guy in the beginning.
And the cross-eyed
ridiculous beard, and he's going cross-eyed, but he's also eyebrow acting as only he can. The 2 squiggly caterpillars on his face, and and the huge like that feels like that's Eugene Levy at home.
Yes.
It's very SCTV. Like an insanely broad kind of, and then he gets Yiddish for a second, like
It was the scent of salt water.
Salt water.
and then we'll find California. It's this weird, like,
Booby made a kishka.
Yeah, Booby made a kishka.
Booby made a kishka.
Well, there's that. That's over. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, there's always this kind of broad, like, huge bearded old Jewish stereotype with crossed eyes that Eugene is like always dying. Like, where can I fit that in? Where can we put this in the movie?
Yeah, he's so good,
and it happens there, and it's
obviously
kills.
The quotable. Marcus said it last week. You know how? Well, I wasn't the class clown, but I sat behind the class clown, or beside the class clown.
People ask me, "Were you, you must have been the class clown," and I say, "No, I wasn't." But I sat beside the class clown, and I studied him.
And I learned a lot from him.
I studied him.
I studied him. That
says it all.
That says everything.
Just incredible.
So good. Guys, just because I'm looking at the clock and starting to get a little nervous, but we got to talk about just Christopher Guest in this movie because it's unreal.
Bearing the lead.
It's fucking unreal. It's too real, actually. It's very disturbing. His hair is unbelievable.
I was looking at that today.
You know, and
I've seen that haircut around in this world. You know?
Yeah,
I guess it's actually it's a toupee sitting on top of his normal haircut.
Amazing.
You know,
incredible.
For starters,
his sort of 90s hip hop dancing that's just,
Dude,
cut
he
away.
had the backwards jeans.
Yeah.
Chris totally crossed out.
Like backwards.
He was totally crossed out. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that till I saw it again today, and I was like, that is so funny.
Wow.
That
Those
scene
spasmodic dances,
killed in the 90s. You know, it was like the funniest thing ever.
Killed. and
but you know what? Just to get back to this general thesis we're talking about, like, it's never cruel. Like they do this really special trick, especially him, where you're not. Yeah, you're laughing at everyone here and all that stuff, but they are real filled-in characters, and you
definitely
do feel, like, people say they want to do that kind of thing where you walk the line between empathy and derision, but this film really nails it because, like, you gotta love Corky, and like, yeah, he's just, it's sort of like your friend, like, the guy's a little nuts. He's kind of does this sometimes, and he looks like that sometimes, but he's fucking Corky. You gotta love him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah,
because, like, it could be so cruel, like in someone else's hands, this would all be very cruel. But
yeah, it's interesting.
I don't feel that.
It was funny because, like, when I was just like searching around, just Googling a little bit about this movie, in prep for this, I was odd how many, like, think pieces I came across and how many reviews and YouTube videos of people criticizing the movie or just discussing the idea of, like, Christopher Guest and how he sort of, is punching down, at this whole thing.
God.
I know.
Let me guess, you were reading articles from 2017? It's 2024, everybody.
No, I know.
Let's put the problematic word, like...
not necessarily with that stuff. It was just like, just like the idea of, like, his humor is sort of looking at, like, punching down at,
I see. Well, I don't
esoteric.
agree.
I don't either.
I think he walks the line beautifully. So
I know exactly, and that's what I was about to say. Is I think, with this movie, like, yes, I think it is very spot on. But the fact that he gives them humanity through, like, I mean, you really feel for these people. Like, you really,
like we said,
there's tragedy.
They were crushed by the Guffman reveal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, I was just so surprised though that people have that take on this.
It's just a trendy way to, like, look at culture. It's dumb.
Anyway. But we got to say, when you are introduced to him as a character in this movie, and his ad lib line of, when I came to this town, I thought I'd be a construction worker, with one of those, sweeping hats, or whatever.
A construction worker, or one of those guys that works on those high wire things that with a hard hat, that sweeping sort of hat, and with the chaps.
Like you with wires and, like, you just...
What is he talking about?
Oil rig? I think he's saying
he's
an
like,
oil rig.
yeah, I don't know. He's like hiding
Maybe
one of
not.
those like high rises buildings with like a like a sweeping hat. That's like some next level
like a
shit
lineman
right there.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's that calibration, the minutia. It's all in the details.
Very staggering. But he's so good in the
genius.
scene. It's genius. So funny that he goes to the fucking to the city council or whatever, asking for $100,000 for the fucking
you're bastard people.
Right.
Exactly.
Because you're bastard people. That's what you are. You're just bastard people, and I'm going home and I'm gonna bite my pillow. It's what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Well, I
for the
love
play.
that his sulking in the bubble bath
with
later.
the fucking
you know?
oh yeah.
Yeah, just like staring into the distance. You know, like it's so quirky to do.
It
that,
is.
you know?
It is. It's so good. But I also like him sulking after. When is it? Is it after the Guffman bubbles burst when he's got the kind of like Dewey hat on? With
The
like
bubble
spin-
bath is after.
No, that's after.
What are you referring to?
I was referring to where he's got the little spinny.
I know
Dewey
he keeps
hat,
the little beanie on.
The little
That's his outfit for the finale
For
of
the,
the
yeah,
show.
for the,
So,
Nothing Ever Happens on Mars.
Right. Oh my god.
I know. I love that. I noticed that like he keeps that
Boring.
on throughout the whole tragedy, like and also the broad makeup. Like the
I know.
little doll makeup that he
I know.
has.
The eyeliner.
And
he's
all
playing
still-
younger, right? He's playing a kid in that moment.
You ever think
That's
the trippy thing of the young hunky guy would have been all those things?
I know. I do think about that.
Like it's hard to imagine, but was the intention in the reality of the film. You know,
Unreal. That's a great
There
character.
seems to be
too.
a side plot in the deleted scenes where Corky's like trying to convince the family to let Johnny be in the show, and he's like eating dinner at their house with the mom, and then the dad. You can see there's another scene with Brian Murray, like they're hunting together. You know, and, yeah, it's weird.
I'll have to dig that up.
Wow. Great stuff all around. I feel like we should touch on Parker Posey too, because she's a big part of the Christopher Guest universe as well. So great as Libby Mae Brown. Amazing just as the Dairy Queen worker. Great, like that detail too, where I think it's when the play gets shut down and you see her like out back of her house, and she's just like fanning the flames of like a single chicken wing.
She's grilling the chicken wing.
I do love that.
Whoa,
that really looks like a scene from like American Movie or something.
It does. It does.
Like that's the kind of move that someone
totally
in that kind of documentary would. That's what it's a cigarette and like a single sad piece of chicken. Grilling. Totally.
Yeah, she's so good.
She totally rises to the occasion on this. Like I feel like a lot of times these days they will sort of cynically add a younger actor. They'll have a cast of like old, great established actors, and they'll cynically add a younger person,
like Aubrey Plaza or something.
Right. Well, yeah. Except for she's famous now. But somebody even like Selena Gomez or something like that. They'll add somebody to the cast that's not the same caliber, and then they're kind of not up to it. But not only were they not adding her like to be cynical, it's like it fits the part to have somebody and not like an ingenue character.
It's actually a sadder part in a way. Like her final note for us doesn't end very well. Like because everyone else is older and they're married and stuff.
Yeah.
And like they're just kind of like having a little crazy, almost retirement age, delusional fun kind of thing. But she's like stuck.
Can we talk about that? Just like I think it's one of the strongest parts of the movie is the coda. Of where are they now, if you will, sort of part of this movie. Is like I just find it very haunting. I've said over and over again, I think there is some tragedy in the Guffman reveal, but also then when you see where they've gone on to, you see this very darkly tragic scene of Eugene Levy in the Miami or wherever the hell he is, retirement home performing his comedy bits. It kind of reminds me
Villages?
It kind of reminds me of shout out to our episode on 1 fucking hour on overalls overnight when like the band is all broken up and they have to go back to their jobs at the supermarket,
like pricing like Tower Records CDs. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and
it's funny. Yeah. I didn't come away with that at all. Actually,
okay.
My impression, mine sort of sub Tom narrative of all this, and rewatching it after 20 years, was that forget their delusions of grandeur, and it didn't work out with Guffman. they were really charged by this thing, by working on this and,
yes.
and believing in each other and becoming a team. And one thing I noticed that I wanted to point out was like they rocked the crowd.
Yeah,
the audience loved it. You know, like
True.
it was. So
Yeah.
forget like I think they're forgetting the Guffman heights
Right.
of hopes.
Right.
But like they did rock the Casbah at that night with that crowd. And I think that it's not a hopeful ending, but it's like it's a positive ending where they are each, except for Parker, they each are taking that little bit of inspiration and it's keeping them going. Not so much delusional, but just like it kind of charged their lives. And I'm saying it very simply, they all made changes.
Well,
Like,
let me
they literally
say,
changed locations. and shit.
It did fire up Parker's creativity too, right? Because she wants to make a healthy, low-fat,
I guess.
healthy
That's-
blizzard. You know, she's thinking creatively.
sure.
Like-
That's generous.
But she wasn't given much. I'm just saying, like, they did enough to move. You know,
I know. I just want to asterisk what I just want to respond to what you were saying, because like it's not that like do I see him in Miami performing as this giant depressing thing? No, because his is probably the most hopeful out of all three of the codas we're given, because in the film there's that line where Eugene Levy's character is talking about he says like I have to entertain and he goes on that sort of monologue about that. But it is cool, like with this movie, it's like he is depicting obviously all these characters with a great deal of affection that he has for all the characters. That's another counter to the punching down argument. But it's also like, he's showing all the characters with great enthusiasm and energy that even if they're untalented, they have this passion for performing, And I think with Eugene Levy's character, he gets that payoff, even though that's probably as far as he's going to go is the retirement home in Miami, but he's happy, whatever. But I think the dark side of that is Parker Posey's vignette.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, she's the one who didn't come out so good.
Is the dark one, but Corky's is also, you could make an argument, a little on the dark side too, because he's sort of trapped in this store selling, movie ephemera. Very funny, clever movie ephemera, of course.
Rat Pack dolls. Yeah.
The My Dinner with Andre action figure play set and what was the lunchbox? What was it?
Remains of the Day.
Remains of the Day.
Which is it's a totemic title. Quentin Tarantino would reference that title when he. I swear to God, it's just something about that movie. Quentin would say like he would be premiering at a festival, Reservoir Dogs. And he would go, "We're going to watch a movie that rocks. Do you guys want to do that? Or do you want to watch Remains of the Day?" And we get a huge laugh. So it's been a punchline even before Guffman. It's that movie.
Yeah. Totally.
I think the way the endings are jives with how the play is too, where it's like they're happy with the play and their performance in it, but it's a sad little production, that's not pulled off well. It's funny. So I mean, I think that it might be over analyzing like where they end up at the end, because it's the same sort of humor that like he's performing in front of like a retirement home or whatever, or it's the same sort of setup where it's like he's happy but like it's kind of a pathetic situation that's humorous for us.
No, it is, but
I'm
I'm just saying for Tom's
it inspired
point,
them enough to move, and that means something.
Sure, it does. No, he's right. But to Tom's point too, it's like they brought the house down. For
Red,
white,
for that Blaine audience,
No,
but what I'm saying is like, I mean, you could look at it in many ways, like the why, but it never really sunk in with me that the crowd loved it, because it could have played differently. A filmmaker could have made a different thing happen where everyone's like politely applauding, and actually that feels like a more modern thing, like polite applause and like walkouts and cringe,
coughing. Yeah,
right, exactly. But like there's like rapt attention,
right,
and actually the cutaways, if we want to talk about the heart of this film, it's the cutaways during the show that are so beautiful. It's the Eugene's wife. No, this is as good as any like emotional cinema I've ever seen. Eugene's wife, when he comes on for the first time, she's about to applaud, but then she's realizing like people aren't doing that. We're not going to do that. Okay, but I was totally prepared. Beautiful. I love it.
It is.
And then of course that MVP guy,
Steve,
who's in love with Corky.
Corey.
But it's not even like that guy's an asshole and he's a closeted or something like. It's like, oh, I love him and he's great and he loves quirky. But everybody, there's all kinds of just
they deal with that a lot in the auditions too. When like that's part of the warmth and humor in the auditions is that Corky thinks that Catherine O'Hara did a great job in the auditions. He's just blown away by it, And Bob Balaban's the one that's sort of like, he's quiet about it, that he disagrees with Corky. But as far as the auditions,
power hungry.
He also doesn't think that the auditions are good. I don't think. You know what I mean? But he's just turning over the power to Corky. But Corky's just like delighted by people's performances, and I think I love that. That is half the humor of those scenes is watching Corky's reaction to the bad. He thinks it's good.
There's something about the in the film I never considered was like what the audience. I know I'm repeating myself.
Can I underscore
it's just
that?
The soul of the film to me is the audience.
I was just going to say that
our characters absorb that.
I'm just going to say that. I just want to draw a huge underlined thick black marker under that, which is just that the genius choice of this movie, where other filmmakers might be more cynical, is just the idea that they fucking killed it, and that's that's 10 times funnier and more endearing and such a better choice to make them
more
kill
resonating.
it. And it is, and it makes you excited. You want to see them kill it, and there's times where you're worried if Eugene Levy's going to fall off the horse and things like that. But for the most part, you're really rooting for them. And when it cuts to the guy who's the mayor and he's like thrilled. I was, and it cuts to the guy who's the town historian, and like he's satisfied. The guy who might have the most notes is satisfied.
That's from my understanding, with my extent of my knowledge of show business.
Right.
I always liked how they gave the play some strengths too, even if they're like overdoing their lines, that the acting's bad, the music is pulled off well, And then the narrator guy is actually good. That's so refreshing when it starts off and he's like a good actor, like, oh, I didn't see you there. Don't get me started on beans or whatever.
While I have your ear, let me actually, oh fuck, I forgot. Oh, you know what? It reminds me of the sort of the soul of this part of the movie and the whole movie. The contemporary for me is Joe Pera, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys follow him?
Yeah.
He had a show on.
Yep.
Like that feels like there's a through line there where he wouldn't even consider any other choice but to have a rapturous response from the audience.
Right.
And he's a small town guy.
It just shows to me how he is endeared by these types of characters. But the last thing I'll say about just the ending and the coda and the thing was just like how, seeing them kill it, that's the apex of their creative life, is this is their masterpiece. This is their 15 minutes of fame. And then what the coda is not that same fulfillment, and they're not going to, it's just that harsh kind of thing about, about dreams and dreamers, small town dreamers, that I find just to be, it is a little tragic, a little melancholic, maybe the right word, but, that's all I was pointing out about those endings.
No, too, and you know what? Because they all move away.
Right.
They're not a team anymore.
They're not a team.
Like they couldn't, do another season next year of another, try to do, Grease or something like that.
Right.
The musical.
Right. Exactly. So, and it's like, just to put a bow on Corky's scene, it's like, he's now trapped in this like gift shop, and there is something twisted about that, like being surrounded by all these objects that'll never be sold to anybody, is,
well,
there is some.
The sad thing about Corky is that, and I was thinking about this earlier too. It's like he's unlike all the others. He's been aware of and been in the vicinity and tasted the fruits of like the big time in New York City. Like sure he was like at the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah,
but he had some relation to, like show business through Broadway at the lowest rung.
Yeah.
So that's almost like there's a little bit, it's darker.
That's what I'm saying.
The person has more awareness. Like they're just so hopeless that they don't know that there's absolutely no connection whatsoever to show business. But he has tasted and flirted with and danced around
and
real show business. So he knows how far away he is from it.
Sure. And exactly. And then, but just for that little moment on stage in Blaine, Missouri, he was king fucking shit of mountain or whatever, and that's great, and that's a great little detail of that. Real quick before we run out of time, just talk about the stage performance itself, just the actual, play. And this movie too, being a brisk 80 minutes. Wow, amazing. Just like it zips and it's done. It's crazy.
I love it. The length is
quick.
perfect.
Perfect length. But I gotta just talk about the fucking nothing ever happens on Mars, because it's just so boring. Because it's so good. And just the production design of that moment is so great. And
Eugene's Martian mask.
Yeah, because you're
the
also
audience really livens up at that moment.
There's
they're like
oohs
delighted.
and ahs.
Yeah, because there is something great about that too. It's like, on social media, there's like, I don't know, this is a stupid thing to bring up, but there's like, you've seen like little viral clips of like kids putting on like an Aliens play in their high school, and when they when they kind of do fucking great job with the props, and like they have limited means, but the scope and the execution is actually pretty fucking good for what they have. Same thing here, like you're sort of seeing like what they're able to do with just very little. And I'm sure this movie also had a very small budget, so seeing what they're able to do with it, and especially in that scene with the fucking spaceship and the door opening, and everything. It's great. It's kind of it's very Pod People, Spinal Tap moment. It's great.
There's a lot of great things, little references for people if you've ever been in a play or something, like when Catherine O'Hara and Fred Willard turn to each other to simulate like dialogue while someone else is talking,
Yeah.
hub, 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 hub,
Peas and carrots.
Yeah, exactly. They're peas and carrotsing. Or
he
he blows his line at another point too, like Eugene Levy, like he says like, I'm so glad you came to your town,
Yes.
and Fred Willard looks at, he sort of like lowers his eyes, like,
no, and Fred's like, hold steady, don't get thrown off by him being thrown off. Totally. Or how about this? Hey, you know what? Between lines, just throw something out there.
Right.
And he's like,
if there's a gap,
I should get a new travel agent.
Yeah, that's the best.
Sucking
Wait,
blame.
fuck. Holy shit. 2 things I got to bring up before we're out of time. I totally forgot. Backdraft, the theater adaptation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Genius. The great art that they produced for that poster.
Incredible. The idea of, burning newspapers into the vents and everything.
Also
Incredible.
Just doing backdraft. It's totally forgotten 1991. Like
hilarious.
And
it's genius.
My favorite scene in the movie, I didn't even get a chance, I would have totally forgot, is, of course, and it's just a little bit part, the townie who comes to audition for the play and is not in it, but of course, for his scene, he's doing, "You fuck my wife."
You fuck my wife? What? You fuck my wife? How can you ask me a question like that?
Oh, well, of course. We that's our shorthand. Like,
I know.
Whenever we said, like, let's do Guffman, when we would just, all of us would just go, like, you fuck my wife?
Yeah.
No, but how about then the cut to Corky's wide-eyed reaction, like,
oh,
okay.
that's a little crazy. Yeah. Yeah, you fuck my wife guy is...
That guy was
so
probably
good.
the driver, like their driver, from the hotel to the set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just some random guy.
David Cross is in it, of course, but also I always forget that Bob Odenkirk is in it too, in the audition
Vampire
dressed like
hallway.
Dracula.
Yeah. Amazing.
I got to say, when I first saw it, that was big cool points. I was like, wow, there's a movie with Mr. Show People. Like,
I know.
Right.
That was a major event.
Totally.
For all this,
David
Mr.
Cross
Showheads.
kills it too in it.
He does kill it.
Great
Yeah.
little...
Way.
separate little little vignette stuck right in the middle of the movie is pretty cool. So all right, boring. Yeah, that's of course 1 fucking hour, everybody, on Waiting for Guffman. Glad we finally did it.
Guffman.
Guffman.
They should reboot it like Guffman.
Sure.
Oh, Christ.
Like Birdman, but with
oh god, it's getting
starring-
worse.
Okay. But yeah, guys, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did that. It's been a while since we've just done like a fucking straight up comedy. So appreciate
And it's always
that.
like a Chris Guest related thing, it seems.
I know.
Right.
our comedy default to Chris Guest.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
our scene.
We have
It's
to
a
hit
musical, it's a musical, it's a documentary,
Sure.
it's a comedy.
Right,
We crossed so many things off our list
That's
this
true.
time. Now we can go back to some,
Yeah.
drama from 1978
or trauma from Remy Bennett. But I think Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I definitely love it, and I think we should get into Office Space and some of the other stuff. You know, that's one I would love to do at some point. And
totally.
You know, Mike Judge shit, get some of that in here. All right, well, shall we moving things right along? Should we just we talked about at the top of the show? What are we doing next week? Should we just get that out in the open here and what we are planning?
What are we doing?
Well,
okay. Well,
let me start off by saying this. I'll sort of set it up and you can take it from here, Tom. We've been trying to figure out on this show for a little bit how we're going to cover television, because we do want to cover television. And you know, we've teased, you know, wanting to do some Sopranos stuff. We've talked about maybe Tom doing some Sex in the City stuff at some point.
Oh,
and
right, wrong show. Sorry.
Yeah, right. And so we're trying to figure out how are we going to address this? Is it going to be you know, one goddamn episode at a time and slog it all the way till eternity?
It sounded like hell on earth.
Yeah, right.
Give me yawn.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Or
just hell, like impossible.
Yeah.
Like,
So is it going to be overview? What are we going to do? And I think we landed at a very fun concept of how we're going to cover television. And so I think let's get into that, and then we'll talk about what our first real dedicated TV show on a TV show is going to be.
Right.
And we sort of thought, well, you know, we're one fucking hour. What could we do? We're going to cover one fucking season on a show. So, so there you go. So what we're going to be doing next week is covering a single season of a show, which I think is pretty cool because this allows us the autonomy to be like, okay, hey, we want to do Sopranos, you know, season 5. Let's fucking do it. Tom, Sex and the City season 4. We can do that shit. So, but this time,
just to be clear, for one episode.
For one episode.
Like in this single episode, we cover a season of television. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So and
it's gonna be hard when some of those shows like Gilmore Girls have like 40 episodes per season.
Yeah. Totally.
I relish the challenge. Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. So we are gonna try out our first ever episode of one fucking season next week, and we're starting with pretty much the perfect for us sort of baseline, because it does relate to a previous episode that we've done on the show. Everybody knows who's heard all the episodes of the show knows we love Nathan Fielder, big fans. We covered one fucking hour on Finding Francis, which is in the archives, his season finale episode of Nathan For You. Of course, we talked a little bit about on that show. We talked about the rehearsal, but all three of us have been watching the fuck out of his new show that oddly enough nobody's talking about, which is his show on Showtime. It's called The Curse. Him and Benny Safdie collaborated on this show, and it's fucking brilliant. It's one of the most amazing things I've seen in a long time.
There's nothing like it right
there
now.
There really is nothing like it, and I think, spoiler alert, the reason for that is that it's so ahead of its time. It's too soon. I think it's too soon for people to get.
That's part of the problem. Yeah.
It is part of the problem. It's just they're too on the cutting edge. I think they got to slow it down a little bit because it's so fucking good. But we're going to get
shape. I think it has the power to shape, you know, the conversation and to make be a reference point to where people. I think it could change some conversations too.
If people are watching it, so hopefully people see it. If you haven't seen it, fucking binge that shit, because all 10 episodes have now aired. The Curse, you can get it on Showtime. You can do a little trial action on Showtime and watch it that way.
It's like Paramount Plus /
It's Paramount Plus, right?
Yeah. Right. I think you can get it through Paramount Plus, but if you don't have an account, just sign up for the 7-day trial or whatever it is. Binge that shit, and then we're gonna cover that one fucking season next week on The Curse. And of course, we're covering all of season 1. We may give the one fucking hour clock a little break. So we're not going to be under the scrutiny and pressure of the clock. We'll keep it within reason, but I think we want to make sure we do cover the breadth of the season. So we're going to try something new out next week, and let us know what you think of this idea. Comment below, and obviously tune in next week and comment. And let us know how you feel about that as a new kind of show idea. And we'll do this, every once in a while, right, Tom?
Exactly. It'll pop its ugly head up once in a while, but otherwise, good old one fucking hour. The format, the name, and everything will remain, obviously. But this is an inaugural episode of something
bigger
that will, happen once in a while down the road. And it is partly because we needed to figure out something that we all watch a lot of, and not just us, but everybody. Like
right.
Like so much that's interesting. I mean, this is a pretty corny
right
talking point, but like, hey, there's no more good movies, but it's because they're all on television, quote unquote television.
Sure.
And there's some validity to that, and
this is great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's time to kind of get into that.
Time to do it.
Heavy action,
because we watch a lot of TV. Let's be real. We watch probably more TV than we do movies. So all right. So we're gonna get into that. So and then of course
next is gonna be one fucking YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Where we talk about YouTube channel.
One fucking tweet.
Yeah. One fucking X, you mean, or whatever it's called.
Oh, excuse me.
So and then week after next. So next week, on next week's episode, we will give you all the deets on what Tom's birthday episode is going to be, because that's going to be week after next. So we got some exciting shit coming up. Very excited. And of course, and we'll get back to the movies as well too eventually.
Yeah.
So let's do that. And of course, Marcus, we mentioned on last week's episode, Tom, I gave you your holiday gift on the air, which of course, was the Hitching Post sweatshirt.
Sweatshirt, yeah.
Not what you're not wearing right now. It's okay, I guess. And
well, it'd be hard to tell because it's just a black.
Sure.
hoodie.
Okay. All right. And then
that's not a black one though. You're wearing an orange one.
Yeah,
right
you're wearing
now,
an orange.
right?
Orange.
No, I'm saying that it wouldn't be self-evident.
Okay, I got it. Okay, we'd make you do a little 360 action, maybe.
I would do a 360.
Okay. So
let's retape the whole episode. Here we go.
Yeah. So okay. So Marcus, this is your gift. It was delayed. It took forever to ship to me before I could ship it to you. So you might want to start unboxing that because
one fucking unboxing.
Is there a box within a box? I kind of feel like retaping the episode because I said Ross McEwen instead of Ross McElway for
oh
the
Jesus.
But now I get, as I'm opening this box, I get the chance to correct the record.
Okay.
But I'm going to correct myself.
Hold on.
Let's get some bubble wrap inside.
Okay.
Here.
So this is Marcus's holiday present.
Oh.
We're gonna narrate. Yeah, I put a lot of bubble in there. Don't try to peer through the bubble.
I can't. Oh my God, I can't. It looks okay. I'm not peering through the bubble.
Don't peer through that bubble.
I saw some clear inside. This is very exciting.
Yeah,
oh my God.
This is a big deal.
God. This is like a big deal. Oh my God. So just getting this far up, I'm seeing this so far. Oh my God. It's something that's been graded. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. It's a graded VHS tape of one of my childhood. Is it my childhood haunt, or was it it's like underrated horror movies?
Yes.
One of my picks for underrated horror movies. Shout out to the archive. Parents that really fucked me up as a kid, and this is a fucking. What's that?
Directed by
Bob Balaban.
Bob Balaban.
Bob Balaban. Oh my God! Right. Oh my God! Forgot.
Oh my God!
For Guffman fame.
Oh my God! And
So
it's
cool.
this is wow. I don't have anything. This is my first graded. My life's all going downhill from here. I'm going to spend all my money on graded VHS tapes. But thank you. So this is incredible.
We were goofing on graded VHS tapes and how ridiculous and kind of pointless they are. And I was snooping around one of my, cause I buy a lot of comic books on auction sites, and they were having one. And I was like, nobody's going to want this graded parents tape. And sure enough, it went very low. But
amazing.
So it's your gain. But I also picked up a graded tape of my own. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I had to pick up.
Much. I love this.
What we got?
Is it sealed in there? Is the tape sealed?
Yeah, hell yeah, it's sealed. It's got a 7.5. You know,
Yeah.
which it's not bad, but
Not too
it's all right.
shabby.
here,
Check out
do you
this.
take it out of the plastic, or am I not supposed
Nope.
to touch the plastic?
That's it.
Oh God,
That's
it
it.
just dropped a point, right?
No. You can take it out of that plastic. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I can't wait to watch this right after we get off.
Crack it, man. Crack it. Okay. Here's the graded tape that I got for myself. Sorry, this is my holiday present to myself. You guys are going to dig this. I'm very excited about this too. This also, nobody cared. Nobody bid.
I want to hear.
No one knows what this is. Very one fucking hour appropriate, by the way. Check it out.
Sure. Oh, hell
Oh, whoa, hell yeah!
First off,
I have
it's
that on VHS.
It's
That's
a
awesome.
9.2, but guys, this isn't a VHS This is a sealed beta of
Whoa.
The Visitor.
Oh, now you're talking. We're Visitor brothers. Dude.
Yeah, dude.
Hot. I got one too.
Sealed.
Do we all have this? I mean,
Yeah, I don't have it in my within reach, but I have it too. Yeah.
Fucking 9.2, motherfucker. So graded tapes for everyone.
Sweet 9.2
Beta though. Damn.
Yeah, beta.
That's hot. Beta's
So-
next
Higher
level.
quality.
Yeah, of course.
Beta's the next level.
All right, so there you go, everybody. Merry Christmas, and
And I am wearing my
oh,
nice.
What do you
Show
call
us.
it?
yeah,
Sweatshirt.
little 360 action.
Hoodie.
Beautiful. Yep, it's a Christmas morning here on One Fucking Hour. Okay, everybody. So we will see you next
from
week.
Sideways.
Yeah, from Sideways, bitch. We'll see you next week, of course, for the one fucking season on The Curse.
Yeah,
and
I'm excited.
yeah, really excited about
Can
that.
I
It's
be
gonna-
honest?
Yeah.
I'm going to now watch the finale. I haven't watched it yet. It came out.
Oh, strap in.
So,
Strap in. I'm not going to
Yeah,
say
I
anything.
can't even react at all.
I know.
I can't.
I've
do
had
that.
so I'm excited. So
Yep.
I'm hearing things.
Yeah, there's.
I'm
Yeah.
hearing some things.
I would try to limit the amount of things you hear between now and
All
whenever
of
you
it,
watch
my
it.
spoiler is I'm hearing things.
Okay. Well, that's good that you're finally hearing things, by the way. But
Well, from like one person.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Well, I'll be honest. From Red Bar.
Yeah, okay,
Red Bar
okay.
Radio.
So,
Literally
all right.
one person on Earth.
All right. So, well, you know, joke from last week. You weren't hearing anything. Okay, and
shit.
yeah, you didn't even get that one.
I didn't. I missed that.
Missed that.
Yes, and my ears. I know everyone's concerned. My ears are back. I got a lavage. They call it. It's a technique of ear cleansing. Lavage.
They're beautiful. I'm glad you finally did it.
Great.
Okay, so next week, one fucking lavage on The Curse, and everybody, real quick shout out to the Patreon, patreon.com/one fucking hour.
Everyone's assignment is to watch every episode, all 10 of The
Yep.
Curse, before you watch us. So
Yep, jam that
got
shit.
some watching to do.
Strap in.
Strap in, watch that shit. Get on the Patreon, patreon.com/one fucking hour. Sign up. We have a new bonus episode dropping soon. And that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us for Guffman, and we will see you soon, everybody. But first,
what about our moment?
Well, hang on. What about our what? Our moment of Zen. All right, we'll have that for sure, but we will see you next week. All right, guys, take care. So long. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Here balmy breezes blow, pure joys invite us, and as we gently row, Santa Lucia.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.